The lighting is a work I started around 2019 until 2021. It's a project about how smartphone and algorithm influence the users, especially the users in the whole African continent, how that connect to the technological engagement of the modern China. Because there is a smartphone called Technophone. Technophone is a Chinese brand from Shenzhen, but they only focus on the market in whole African continent. And why it becomes so popular? Because they had some special adjustment of their algorithm. Before 2017 and 18, our sensor chip of the camera were not so sensitive with the darker skin tone. And this phone, they developed a new algorithm who can recognize the darker skin tone face better. When I start to dig into this topic, I realized the so-called technical bias, so the discrimination result from the technology, is not just happen today with our smartphone. When we talk about the photograph, it's already appeared when we were using the Kodak film. And it was until 1990 when Olympics became something that around the world we have to focus. And you know, there's a lot of athletes who has a darker skin tone. That was a moment Kodak, the American film company, realized we should change our products. Otherwise, before, the film was based on the adjustment of the whiter skin users. Our film, I would define it as an experimental documentary film. It's also something I'm interested in. And I began with a Kung Fu scene. And many people ask why in this work I put some Kung Fu elements. It's because, firstly, during the pandemic, when I was making the film, Donald Trump, during his campaign, he invented a word called Kung Flu. Kung Fu with the flu. When he proposed this term, it means flu comes from those people who know Kung Fu, which is probably Chinese. I mean, I'm not telling every Asian are Chinese, or I'm not telling that every Asian know Kung Fu, but when he proposed this term, it was designating that meaning. And then I kind of use that term ironically to reflect racism and also how discrimination appeared in the technological bias. During the 70s till 90s, Hong Kongese film was extremely popular, especially central around a filmmaker called Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was such a figure who was still very popular today in the African cinema production scene, such as Nollywood in Nigeria. And what I think very interesting of this period of time in Hong Kongese film, especially Bruce Lee films, was that he actually really liked to work with African American actors. One very important figure is Gene Kelly, which we kind of cosplayed in our film. He was a very famous martial art star from the States who also acted in one of the Bruce Lee's last film. And in that film, showed Kung Fu to a lot of Hong Kongese students at the background. So what I guess what Bruce Lee wants to say is that there is something beyond ethnicities. Kung Fu is nothing really belong to certain ethnicity. It's not belong to Chinese. It doesn't belong to Hong Kongese. I kind of want to reflect this small part of the film history into our film. I want to also answer back to this question of Kung Flu, which I also feel very offensive in the way that combine certain ethnicity and the virus. Yeah.